5. And welcome in, everybody, to the MHRT Podcast. I'm your host, I'm Dungus Creevy, alongside my co-host, 6'10", and today, Dave Glassman is joining us on the show, filling in for Glenn and Boggins, who are slacking and not on the show today. So thanks, Dave, for joining us.
My pleasure.
We are a fan-led Broncos-based podcast, filling you in on all things NFL news, but more importantly, Broncos news. We go live every Thursday, 7654. You know where to put them. On YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Now, we are still on that quest for 1,000. If you have ever wondered how to support a growing channel, the absolute best way to do that is to subscribe, hit the thumbs up, click on the bell, comment, and share so that you can know when we go live. Anytime we post amazing content on our pages, and so that other Broncos fans out there in Broncos country can know that we are awesome. How's everybody feeling today? We don't have Broncos game, but good night. We've got a football game on tonight.
We're going to see helmets clashing and people swearing probably. It's going to be fantastic.
Two terrible teams going up against each other. Yeah. The Cowboys and the Steelers, they suck. But I want football, so I don't care.
And yet I kind of want the Steelers to win because I don't like Dallas as much as I like Pittsburgh.
It's so much more fun to see like the Hard Knocks team lose.
Yeah, that too. Especially because I feel like they stole that from us.
Dave, did you want us on Hard Knocks? Because I did.
Yeah, that would have been cool. They just came out with the top 10 most valuable teams again today, and Dallas was like $5.5 billion. Denver was 10th, like $3.75 billion.
And like with this offseason, they had the building the Broncos, right? They've never had that before. So it just seemed like this was the offseason to have Hard Knocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it could be. At this point, it's kind of like Denver would probably be the bottom of the totem pole where every other team is going to get at least one shot of being on Hard Knocks, and then it's going to be like, well, we've gotten everybody else, so just give it to Denver. Let them have their fun.
They'll recycle Dallas.
Yeah.
They'll lose enough times.
Oh, yeah. Shadowjacker smells like football spirit. Yeah, it does. EJ, what's up, Broncos country?
Salud.
Hey, look. There's Dave Glassman in there. What's up, Shadow? Mohammed Mobad said, sup, fellas, and Dave in the house.
Hey.
And there's another Dave response. So we're in, what is this? Almost the end of week 2 training camp.
Oh yeah.
We do have our very first camp casualty, an ACL tear that has taken him out for the remainder of the season. Cody Conway, a training camp body on the offensive line, has torn his ACL and is out for the year.
Oof.
Sucks, but at the same time, thank God it was not somebody that was a starter.
Oh, jeez.
No offense, Cody, but whew.
Yeah, my first thought was, who?
Right?
Yeah.
I was listening to the radio and heard it, and I was like, oh, God, don't be Miller. Nope, Cody Conway. Okay, I feel bad for Cody, but I feel better because it's Cody Conway and not Von Miller or Sutton or the 87 corners that we have. Which, by the way, why do we keep signing corners?
Apparently,
they just signed like 3 more.
Yeah, they're trying to find that diamond in the rough. I mean, you can expect to see them get a lot of playing time these next 3 weeks in preseason. And, I mean, obviously, they're all going to be gone by week 1. But, I mean, hey, we were able to find Chris Harris Jr. as an undrafted cornerback. So,
oh, God, no, not Conway. Thanks, Johnny. Who's that? Who's the corner that we just signed? It's got 2 picks already. First name starts with an R.
From Dallas?
Rochambeau or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I saw his name come across my screen.
Because he got another pick. Because so Drew threw one to Simmons, and that was out. That was yesterday because today they didn't have any training
practice,
camp.
Yeah,
and then that was after he threw that pick to the Rochambeau guy on Tuesday, and then Teddy threw one to his name is RJ something. I'm just gonna go Roger because it's close.
RJ's good enough.
RJ's good enough. So he picked off another one from Bridgewater yesterday. So he's been at camp for like a week. He's got 2 picks. I've never heard of the guy before ever. I'm assuming he's just depth. There it is.
Farish.
Why didn't you just say it?
I'm not going to try to pronounce that.
Wow, we were way off.
I'm going to say, I'm going to call him Rojo. Rojo.
Is the J silent?
I don't know. How about we call him the Jester? It works. It's right there in the name. Haha, Johnny, I got that one.
Rojesterman.
It's a pass happy league. We need 12 corners. Switch those numbers around.
21
corners. Now we have had, so we are starting to see some separation in players from last year and new players that we're seeing this year. For example, Caden Stearns has been crushing it, from what I've been told, at safety.
Mm-hmm.
He has really been stepping up. So is that giving us more of an option of not having Kareem Jackson on the team next year because we have a Caden Stearns?
That's a bold prediction. I mean, if he can make the 53-man squad, and maybe not so much practice squad, because I feel that if he gets the practice squad, he's going to get noticed by somebody and, plucked out of there. But
there's no Will Parks, right? So we need a good third safety.
Yeah. So for depth, if they can put him in depth, I think he'll be fine.
I was going to say he's going to be the direct backup, right, to Jackson?
Stearns would be playing like that, yeah.
And then who's the other safety they drafted? Johnson?
Yeah.
Jeremiah?
Jeremiah Johnson?
Is that who it is?
I can't remember his name. I know it's Johnson. There's so many Johnsons in that team.
I don't know. There's Williams and Johnsons, and I can't even think of another one, so I'm not going to try. I know. We've also seen the emergence of Justin Sternad.
Mm-hmm.
Since we've had my boo Honey Bear been injured, we've gotten to see some Sternad in there.
Yeah, that cannot be good for that man's future.
No, and you got to think he's still going to be like Jamar Johnson. There it is, Jamar Johnson. And you got to think that that's just going to make Sternad more of a rotational. I don't think they're actually going to give him the starting spot. Do you? I mean, it seems like Fangio is pretty comfortable with who he's got in Honey Bear and Johnson.
Groin injuries can be tricky, especially depending on how severe it was. Now, he is slated to only be out for the preseason and then come back week 1. So starting Sternad in a rotation makes sense. But unless Jula can come out and kind of show some improvement from where he was last year, where Fangio is like, okay, you know what, this isn't, it's not working or whatever, and he wants to try to roll the dice with Sternad, that's also a possibility instead of having him as a rotation.
Jonathan Cooper as well, says Johnny. Oh, yeah, he's the outside linebacker, right?
Mm-hmm. I think he's 4th string.
Baron Browning is going to be at outside linebacker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Cooper, and then we got Malik Reid.
Mm-hmm. Malik Reid's behind Miller.
Am I missing one?
No, I think you got it.
I think that's everybody. Now, Okay, so continuing on with Malik Reid, he reminds me a lot of shooting out. Oh, Barrett.
Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, it seems like he's mirroring what happened with Barrett. So, do you think we're going to keep him around for when Miller eventually leaves, or is it going to be another? He leaves and goes to another team, and then he's like Defensive Player of the Year candidate again.
It's possible.
Because 8 sacks isn't like Von Miller type year, but 8 sacks is a good number of sacks.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't really see Malik Reid as a Shaq Barrett-like at this moment. He's climbing up to be like that. And, and Malik Reid, last year was the year for Malik Reid to have made that statement, to kind of step out of Von Miller's shadow and say, hey, look, if anybody should go down again, knock on wood, I'm the guy. And Malik Reid did have some highlights last season, but there were also a couple of games last year where if you watch carefully, it was like, oh, well, he could have done better against this and that. So while we're not expecting him to put up Shaq Barrett-like numbers like Shaq Barrett did with his first year in Tampa Bay, he could reach that potential.
Shut up, Johnny. Leave my wood paneling alone.
It looks nice, Mike.
Right? EJ, Judy's putting them boys on skates in camp. He really is. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard of any drop issues. He broke Surtan's ankles the other day.
Yeah.
But I will say that the closing speed that Surtan showed to catch up, he's quick.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some speed on him.
Yeah, it's very comforting to see that. I mean, there's going to be a couple of times where Surtan is going to get beat, but if he can at least stop the play, from a touchdown and giving this defense a chance to try to, stop it or, keep it to a field goal or a turnover or whatever, that's just as good than letting him, letting the wide receiver run into the end zone.
So we had Tuesday was the first day of pads, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was their running back day, their run game day. Sounds like they got a lot of traction and the running game looked pretty darn good on Tuesday, which is exciting for me. I still want Melvin Gordon gone, though. He still fumbles too much.
You think so?
I don't know. Like, I want Pookie to win. Not Pookie Knight, Pookie Williams. I want Pookie Williams to win the job.
I kind of felt like Javonte had a bigger day on Tuesday than Melvin Gordon. But then again, and I keep stressing this, I don't see Melvin Gordon kind of showing off until week 1. He could be taking a couple of preseason snaps these next 3 weeks, but it's nothing where he's going to go all out. But if he wants to stay in Denver, he's got to know that there is no way George Payton is going to give him $16 million again to come back next season. There's no way. So it's either if he wants to stay in Denver, he takes a pay cut and he tries to keep Javonte Williams, nipping at his heels and Gordon stays top dog, or if Gordon doesn't have another 1,000-yard season and he's not happy in Denver, that he decides to try the free agent market after this season.
Anyway, Slice said he wants to get paid, so he should ball out this year, one way or the other, whether we get to keep him or not.
Right.
He's got to have a good year to get paid, whether it's by us or somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, and I have been hearing some good things about Boone. It doesn't sound like Boone is on anyone's mind for special teams returner. It sounds more like that's going to be a Spencer or KJ Hamler has shown some interest in doing it. Mm-hmm. But I am hearing a lot of good things about Boone. And I do not mind having the Pookie Williams, Mike Boone 1-2 punch. I am perfectly fine with that, especially since neither one of them combined are getting $8 million a year to play football.
Will that help Tyree Cleveland keep his job?
I was impressed a few times with him last year, but this year, and maybe he's one of those guys that's not really good in practice, but is really good in games. I don't know. But so far, I'm not seeing a whole lot out of Tyree Cleveland. I think it's going to be Spencer over Cleveland just because Spencer's got that return game in his back pocket.
That's all he's got, right?
Yeah, but don't –
Go ahead.
I don't even think that special teams can save Tyree Cleveland. Tyree Cleveland needs to go out and ball during the preseason because he's had a pretty not impressive training camp so far.
The dropsies.
Yeah, the dropsies, and he needs to, not only does he need to clean that up, but he needs to show the staff that he belongs at least in depth, and that he doesn't get demoted to like practice squad material or something. Right.
There's who's that other one that's been Trinity Benson. He's the one I was thinking of. He's been having a really good camp. So I think, if anything, it's not even between Spencer and Cleveland. It's between Benson and Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Trinity Benson is having, I should say, a very impressive training camp. My co-host Johnny Baki on Tuesday was raving about him and chose him as his most impressive player in camp so far. And if he keeps it up, man, he could be putting some highlights come these next 3 weeks and, bump Tyree Cleveland in the depth chart if need be.
Yeah, and I know he's been catching a lot of deep balls, a lot of touchdowns, but wasn't he the one that had when Bridgewater threw that interception when the wide receiver made the wrong route or read it wrong? That was Benson, right?
Yeah, that was Benson.
Okay. So I mean, I'm not really going to hold it against him. I mean, it happens. Let's just hope he doesn't make too many more if he's wanting to beat out Cleveland, because Cleveland hasn't had that problem. He's just had the Jerry Jeudy last year problem. He's not catching what he's supposed to.
Yeah.
So
what about Kendall Hinton?
Well, okay. Are we talking about quarterback Kendall Hinton? Are we talking about wide receiver Kendall Hinton? Are we talking about DB Kendall Hinton? Are we talking about whatever other position?
Who cares?
He plays at?
Does he make the team? Does he have a chance?
The Swiss Army knife?
Practice squad at best? I mean,
yeah, I want to say practice squad. I mean, like, I want him to get a spot on the team just because of last year he earned it. But at the same time, it's like there are so many good players in training camp right now that are balling out. And he's played well. But if it's between Kendall Hinton and, again, going back to Spencer, you got to give the guy the nod that's got more uses than just – I don't know if Kendall Hinton is going to play at any other position other than the one that they want him there for. Like, I understand he can play, but it doesn't mean that – I don't know. It's because he's like a multi-tool. I have no idea.
Janet Jackson said it. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
That's actually true.
I mean, and again, he hasn't had a bad camp, but unless KJ Hamler beats out Spencer for the return duties, I'm going to say Spencer over Kendall.
I'm going to actually say that I think Hinton rides the practice squad because I don't see any other team picking him up for the same reason than Denver would like to keep him. If
he should clear waivers.
Yeah, he should clear waivers. Thank you.
Spencer or Hinton?
Hinton.
Okay.
Yeah, Hinton. So
Hinton, but I just call him Kendall.
Kendall, yeah. So Kendall should clear waivers. He should be just, chilling in the practice squad. Unless another team out there desperately needs wide receiver depth. That's originally what his title was before he became Broncos famous, I guess you could say. So other than that, I think he'll be safe. Now, having him for depth, even in practice squad, is really good because, hopefully that injury bug doesn't creep up on us like it did last year and it starts nibbling at all their top players.
Do we know if they're having the same COVID protocols this year as they did last year for like practice squad?
I think we get
you don't have to go through as much. You can still bring them up.
I think we still get to protect some veterans more so than, and I think we might even get one more practice squad player this year. I might be wrong, but
I don't
the
think
rosters
they're
are still at 53, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're doing the 1 week quarantine anymore though.
Well, I know it's 10 days if you're not vaccinated. It's 24 hours after you test. You have to test negative twice within 24 hours, and then you can go back or something like that. If you're vaccinated. So I think it's pretty much the rules from last year for COVID are exactly the same if you're unvaccinated, but they're different if you're vaccinated.
Oh, okay.
I think is how that works.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean they're just trying to do right by everybody as best as they can. So it's hard.
Yeah. EJ, Boone is looking explosive in camp. He really is.
Yeah.
I still think of him as more of like that Lindsey type back. But it's weird because Lindsey ran with power, and he wasn't that big.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Boone is that power runner, though. That's what Pookie is that power runner. Boone is that get on the outside and run and go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's got I hate to say this out loud, but he's got a little bit more to offer than Lindsey. He's more than just an outside runner. He can block. I think the pass blocking that Lindsey lacked, I think Boone makes up for.
Just looking for the sniper behind me.
Why it's going to be here?
The Lindsey lover is trying to.
I love Lindsey. I still give him an A-, hating an A- for the Lindsey move. Real quick, there was a Sport Track said 16 players in the practice squad, 6 spots can be vets, 2 weekly active roster call-ups, 4 player protections per week, and they get a minimum of $9,200 for being in the practice squad every week.
Okay, so the 2 call-ups is the same as last year, and then the veterans is the same as last year.
So does that mean we get to dress 55?
I think so. Instead of 53.
Yeah, if you call them up, I think so. But at the same time, if you're calling them up, they would have to be replacing 2 players. So then those 2 they're replacing wouldn't suit up.
Mm-hmm. They'd just be on the side.
I want to say 53.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, because I don't think you can. Okay, so last year when they were going through the COVID issue during games,
Cheers,
you couldn't call up extra practice squad players on game day if you had 53 dressed. So I think you would have to take the 2 players off that you're replacing the practice squad players with, so you'd still have 53 suited. I think. I'm just making it up, so don't listen to me.
There you go. No, just believe in yourself. Just go out.
Believe in myself, and it'll come true.
Yeah.
EJ, Tyree needs to step it up big time. He needs a wake-up call. He really does. He doesn't, he showed a lot of promise last year, but you even if you're not the practice, the guy that blows it up at practice every single time you're out there, you almost have to, if you're one of those guys that's on that bubble, to get replaced. Like, you got to be there.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And another comment that EJ made, he says, we loved Lindsey, but he was limited when it came to pass blocking, catching the ball on passes. He's totally right. I mean, Philip Lindsey had his pluses just like he had his, his pros as like he had his cons, and that's great and everything. But the one thing that I keep saying this is that really hurt Lindsey, and not so much his pros and cons, but just him not being able to bounce back from his injuries and, keeping a stable, healthy routine where he didn't push himself so hard, where he got concussed or he had a rib injury or a turf toe or all that stuff. So that in itself held him back from him achieving his own potential and for him to kind of improve on the things that he lacked on. And now that he went to Houston, I really don't think the Texans are going to profit it or better themselves anymore from.
They've got so many running backs. Like, how are they going to pick who stays and who goes? Like, there's 5 or 6 names in there. You're like, oh, I know who that guy is. So it's like, and the whole stupid Deshaun Watson thing. Like, he shows up for training camp, but he's not actually practicing. He's just sitting there. So who's their starting quarterback right now? Do we even know?
Deshaun.
Lindsey.
Deshaun, yeah.
Quarterback, right?
Now, I did hear, and this is kind of getting off topic a little bit, but I did hear that the Eagles were pretty close to a trade deal with the Texans for Deshaun Watson. Now, I will say, and I'm not going to comment on the situation that he's going through because I don't know enough about it, but it does sound like he's probably going to play this year before there's any sort of punishment or anything like that. That's what it's sounding like.
All right. If criminal charges are filed, he won't play.
Correct.
If it stays civil, then I don't see why he couldn't play unless the NFL's own investigation comes up with something damning before before the civil court, which the civil court's not even going to depose until 2022. So unless there's criminal charges, I don't see why he couldn't play this year. Does Philadelphia trade Jalen Hurts?
I don't know. I mean, it definitely seems like it definitely seems like Watson is not going to play for the Texans. And I don't know what his options are on like game day, but it sounds like he's not going to play at all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, EJ, but I think Jeff Driscoll is the backup to Dak Prescott, isn't he? Or was I wrong?
No, they're not starting Driscoll, are they? I'm going to look it up now.
No, I think Driscoll is the backup for the Cowboys, not the Texans, but I could be wrong. I know he's in Texas because somebody wrote an article piece about him.
Oh, Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, Tyrod is the supposed started back for the Texans.
And then if not, they drafted Davis Mills. They do have Driscoll.
Oh, the Texans do?
Yeah, the Texans got Driscoll.
Yeah,
I stand corrected. I'm sorry, EJ.
Signed 2 and drafted 1.
Dude, I'm telling you, like that's the definition of a dumpster fire right there. Like if your backup's name is Driscoll, dumpster fire. That's what you're either like an all-star team or dumpster fire.
Speaking of dumpster fires, I'm really looking forward to week 1 if the Giants keep on keeping on preseason. They look like total dog duty.
I will say this, and I did see a little bit of Giants training camp. The Giants make me nervous. But I say that about every first week team because we don't know what we're getting. Like you can look at last year's game film all you want, but last year's game film is not going to be the same as this year's game film. We have nothing to go on for the Giants. Their defense was, I wouldn't say it was bad. It was okay. There were points last year where it was above average. So you don't really know what you're getting. And so every first week team makes me nervous because you have no idea what you're getting into.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is
I can agree with that.
The Giants out of the first 3, I expect fully to be 3-0 after our first 3 games. But the Giants were the ones that scared me a little. I'm not afraid of the Jets. I'm not afraid of the Jags. But the Giants, you just never know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get.
I think that the highest thing for the Giants is their defense. Their defense was one of the most underrated defenses last year, and they went to Seattle and beat Russell Wilson, which is not a very easy thing to do.
And we have no idea if Saquon's even going to be back for the first. I mean, he's not out there practicing yet, is he?
No, he's on the PUP list.
So we don't even know if we're going to see him in the first.
Yeah,
so we might not even have Saquon.
The Giants' offense doesn't scare me.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I don't care.
The Giants' defense, on the other hand, if our offense cannot improve from last year and they're out there, fumbling or doing turnovers and putting our stacked defense in awkward positions, then that's trouble.
Giants just lost an O-lineman who retired, Looney, so they may be weaker on the O-line. Well, that's not the only spot they're weak at. Wide receiver, they're weak at. Well, I don't know. Well, they still got Sterling Shepard, right? And then they just signed one from the Panthers, didn't they? In the offseason?
They have what's his name? Galladay.
Oh yeah, okay.
Kenny Galladay. Yeah.
Lions, my bad. I was close.
Yeah.
Johnny, I shaved my head though. That's the difference.
Right? You don't have as much glare on the head though. We got a lot more glare with Glenn.
Speaking of shaving, I had about a week's worth of growth that I cut off because I did not want to be made fun of by either of you guys.
Why would we make fun of you?
I don't know.
I think we're the last 2 guys that would make fun of anybody's facial hair or head. Trust me on that.
I would, but it would be in the comments.
Like, where you guys have beards over here, I don't have any hair over here.
Dude, I can't, right here, I can't grow it. It just looks like I have it because it's folded over.
Like a comb over.
Yeah.
Right here, I can't get any.
Yeah, I'm pretty much.
And so it looks like I have if I cut it shorter, it looks like that.
They're almost Raleigh fingers.
Yeah, we're all trying to go for the Johnny Bob.
I'm at that age with enough kids that it looks like I constantly am licking vanilla ice cream and it's stuck in my beard.
Stupid. Yeah, I think I spotted one little gray hair in my in my little chin hairs today, so I had to all go.
Yeah, yeah, we're all trying to achieve the Johnny Baki look, but none of us want to be deserted on an island for a month.
It also is 100 degrees outside, so I don't know how you guys do it.
That's stay inside a lot.
Yeah, or have air conditioning in your car.
And I was gonna say, like, you're not scared of the Jags at all, like Tim Tebow tearing it up at tight end and crushing our defense.
Nah.
Not crushing. You know what? He could have a little miracle, but it won't matter because we're going to be up by 3 touchdowns anyways.
Probably. Okay, and this kind of goes into the main point that I kind of came up with was I was listening to Good Morning Football, and they were talking about the Broncos, and one of the questions they brought up is the team that we have this year. Is this a go for the Super Bowl now team, or is this a building for the future team? Because if you look at it, we got a whole lot of players that are going to be a free agent next year. Mm-hmm. So is this a Super Bowl or bust this year, or is this more of a building for the future team?
Go ahead, Adam.
I probably would say building for the future, and they kind of have to, because on the offensive side, we're loaded on wide receivers. So we need to see what we still have in Courtland Sutton. We need to make sure that the injury he had last year is not something that can not so much repeat itself, knock on wood, but that it's not something that he can be, recover from and be back into the old Courtland Sutton that we know. On the defensive side, all these cornerbacks, with Fuller and Callahan and Patrick Surtain. With Fuller and Callahan, only one of those guys, I believe, is going to be able to come back next season, because I believe they're the one that are going to win a good contract from Denver. And it basically is going to come down to which one of those two guys can play a better cornerback. We still have a up-and-coming Ojemudia who showed promise last season. And our other injured cornerbacks, second and third string, depending on how their recovery is coming along, they could make a jump to maybe second. First is a bit of a stretch, but then again, we don't know how Peyton is going to look into free agency or even the draft next year.
Do you think it's going to be a Fuller Callahan thing, or is it going to be a Darby Surtain thing? Because I could definitely see Darby not coming back next year, because he's got a pretty big price tag on him, and having Surtain fill in where Darby was, or Callahan going where Darby was, and then Surtain and Fuller staying and being on the outsides.
Doesn't Darby have a 3-year contract though, Mike?
Yeah.
Darby's got 3. What does Fuller have?
1.
Fuller's a 1-year deal.
Okay. So yeah. Fuller's 1. Okay. Because I would say there's a whole lot of players that are either on their last year or just on a 1-year contract. So like Kareem Jackson's 1 year, Fuller's 1 year, Vaughn's contract is up after this year. You got Sutton that's going to need a new deal. There's so many more. I'm trying to think. Shelby just resigned. Purcell just resigned.
We got 5th-year options.
Alexander Johnson. It depends on how high they were drafted, though. I think
Sutton and Chubb are both 1s.
Maybe Sutton was the 1.
Maybe you're right.
Sutton was a 2, wasn't he?
You're right.
Oh yeah. I thought Sutton was late 1. No, but you're right. He was a 2. Chubb was early 1. He was like the 4th.
Yeah, I think it's like half of the defense is basically on the last year or able to become a restricted or a free agent. Chubb, Travis Starbuck said Chubb. So you got Miller and Chubb, plus you've got Fuller, plus you've got Kareem Jackson. There's so many guys that we got to re-sign next year. That's what I'm saying. Like, offensive wise, I don't think we're too bad because we got a whole lot of young talent on there. But defensive wise, we might be getting gutted, and that's why. Is this if we're relying on defense, is this a win now mode, win now season right now?
Mike, will you grab Travis's other comment?
Yeah. This one?
Yeah.
Until the QB position gets fixed, we are in a rebuild mode, in my opinion. Denver Broncos for life. Evening, fellas. What's up?
What's up, Travis?
I agree. When you're asking that question, are we win now or rebuild? The quarterback is the huge glaring hole. As much as I want Bach to succeed, we don't know if he will. If he does, if he balls out, we could contend this year. If he's average, I still think we've got a playoff roster. Hopefully he doesn't just suck.
I wouldn't.
And I was going to say, this is kind of what me and Adon were talking about right before we went on, was we were talking about quarterbacks and expectations. And I think there were a lot of people, and I'm not insulting either quarterback, so don't shoot me. There were a lot of fans in Broncos country that were saying Drew Lock is going to make that Josh Allen jump. He's going to be that, top 10 quarterback. I think we're starting to see that he did make a jump, but it's more of a Teddy Bridgewater jump. Like he's at the 20 to 15 range. So I'm not saying he can't get better, but I wouldn't expect him to go from week 2 of training camp, Teddy Bridgewater level, to week 3 of training camp, Aaron Rodgers level. Like that's not realistic. So I definitely think that he's improved, and you can't really say it too seriously on that because we haven't seen him in any game time action at all yet. It's kind of the same thing with interceptions in training camp. Like, who cares? I don't like. What was it? 3 years ago, you had Patrick Mahomes throwing 15 picks in training camp, and then you had Case Keenum throwing none. So interceptions in training camp, I don't really care. It depends on how they threw the pick, why they threw the pick, what were the causes of the pick. Like, was it a dumb decision? Was it a wrong route? Was it bad timing? Was it an accurate throw or not accurate throw? Those are more the things that they're going to be looking at to figure out who's going to be the starter. I want to make sure that we're trying to temper expectations and not be like Drew Lock is going to be a top 5 quarterback, and think of more of he's probably going to be 20 to 15 and more of a game manager with a big arm than anything else.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the Broncos are in a rebuild mode, because when you're in a rebuild mode, you're basically trying to bring in everything from different areas. And if you look all the names on paper, they're all there. The running backs are there, the wide receivers are there, the O-line's there, defense is definitely there. You're just one player away from saying, okay, we got our guy, we're set, we're a contender. Whereas if you're in a rebuild mode, you have to go out and get wide receivers, you have to go out and get tight ends, you have to go get an O-line. You're basically starting from scratch. Yeah. So, but to your point, Travis, Denver could get into a rebuild mode if halfway through the season, things start going the wrong way, and then Peyton decides to have a fire sale, and all these guys that Mike mentioned that are, going to be free agents, that they get dealt away before the trade deadline, and George Payton just starts racking up draft picks. Then we're going into a rebuild mode.
Exactly. Look at the Miami blueprint when they started fire sailing all their best players. Yeah. If then you'll know we're in a rebuild. But I don't think we're there.
Yeah, and it's not like we're sitting here talking about we need to like blow it up and do a full rebuild. We're talking like there's different kinds of rebuilds. There's like those rebuilds where Houston started and then just never finished it. They're still just constantly throwing good people away but not replacing them. That kind of rebuild. And then there's, blowing it up to start getting new players. And then there's those teams that are like their rosters, like there's pretty much a consensus among the NFL that Denver has a top 10 roster. Like, I don't even think that's a question. The problem is the quarterback. And I think we're at that point where the roster is so good on paper right now that we don't need a top 10 quarterback. We just need a quarterback that can make the throws and not turn the ball over. So whether that's Locke, whether that's Bridgewater, I don't care. Whoever wins the job is the quarterback. But we don't need to go out and go get a Deshaun Watson. Would I want him? Sure, if he's available, but he's not right now. Would I want an Aaron Rodgers? Duh, but he's not available. We go with who we have, and who we have is Locke and Bridgewater. Even if they're on the same level, I think we all can agree that either one starting, we're going to win a good number of football games just because of the talent that we have on the offense and the absolute head-banging, head-smashing defense that we have. So I don't necessarily know that it matters all that much. Depending on how they play, though, will depend on if we have a future quarterback already on the roster or if we have to go draft one.
Well, if Drew doesn't win the job, we're going to go find one, whether it's Aaron Rodgers after his next last year in Green Bay, or Deshaun after his year off in the penalty box.
Yeah, and it's kind of like EJ said, rebuild means QB, head coach, and anyone making real money are fired and traded. If we don't have a winning season this year with the roster that we have, everybody should be fired. Like, get rid of all the front office, the coaches, get rid of all of them, because the roster is set up to where you should not, as long as the quarterback is not losing you games, we should get double-digit wins.
The front office has already fired themselves. Ellis is gone. Elway is gone. So the coaches are next. The bulk of the roster, if we can keep them together, should stay, minus the quarterback, if it all falls apart.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Fangio is the reason our defense is getting better. I mean, don't get me wrong, our defense was good, but Fangio just has that effect where he makes defenses better. And he's not just concentrating on defense like he did in previous years with different teams.
Yeah.
Obviously you have Ed Donatel. Now, if it does come to, like Mike said, it comes to it where Vic Fangio has to get fired, I really do hope that the Broncos can find a way to keep Ed Donatel as defensive coordinator, because he knows all of Vic Fangio's plays.
I just don't know, like, what level you would have to be to get Fangio fired. Like, in my opinion, you should do everything possible to keep Fangio on the team.
Yeah, I agree. But the only way Fangio gets fired is if Denver just wins like 2-3 games.
Like, if it's an offensive problem and the defense was like top 5, just let Fangio stay as head coach and coach the defense and go find him some help doing clock management and offensive stuff. But don't let him go.
Yeah,
because he's so good. Like, unless you got Todd Bowles, Fangio is who you want. Yeah. Like, I would say it's like Fangio Bowles. So if we get rid of Fangio, you got to bring in Bowles.
Yeah, Pat Shermer will fall on that sword before Fangio will. In terms of, hey, if they're both sitting in front of George Payton and George Payton's like, either Fangio goes or Shermer goes, Shermer goes.
If we're above 500 and the defense has carried us there, then we really got to think hard whether or not we keep Fangio, even though he's the head coach. Travis down.
Well, I was going to say, and I was going to say, out of everybody that's been in training camp so far, the person I am most impressed with so far is Fangio. Like, I think it looks like he is, because he's one of those old school head coaches that wants practice, hit, and wear them out before the season begins. And it seems like this year he's found that balance between good practices but giving them time to rest and not getting them injured. And if they are injured, giving them that time and being overly cautious to let them recover and then bring them back. So I've been more impressed with that than I have anything else so far.
Yeah, you know what? And Fangio has a new boss now. So he's got to put on a really good show to tell him, hey, look, even though you're not the guy that brought me in 2 years ago, I can still, I can do this. I can get the hang of this. So, and George Payton doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would be who's afraid to, not fire somebody just because they may have had history elsewhere. If it needs to be done, Payton gives you that idea, like, hey man, you're not working out. The team needs to get better, and unfortunately, you got to go.
So, looking at the chat, looking at Travis talking about Eric Bieniemy.
I was just ready to grab that one.
We won't be able to get Bieniemy unless he's the head coach. So let's say that Fangio gets to stay because his defense is lights out, but our offense sucks. So Shermer has to fall on that sword. Who are the candidates who could fill that role? Because Bieniemy's not going to make a lateral move from the Chiefs.
And this is the one thing that makes me nervous. Is it Bieniemy or is it Andy Reid?
Or both.
Like, is it Bieniemy that's made Patrick Mahomes what he is and the offense what it is? Or is it Andy Reid's system and Bieniemy just works really well in it. Kind of like, Belichick and anyone else that leaves Bill Belichick. There's been maybe one or two coaches that have actually done anything good outside of Belichick's system, and everybody else just has failed miserably.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Patrick Mahomes is the one who's making Patrick Mahomes good.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would want Bieniemy over Dable. I think I'd want Dable more from the Bills.
Is he an OC already?
Yeah, he's OC right now.
Yeah.
So who can we?
Because I think like if Fangio is gone, you almost have to go offense next, right?
That's what everybody thinks.
We've had defensive coaches, so now we got to go offense, right? So I don't know, and so let's say that Fangio stays and Shermer's gone. I don't know.
Neither. That's why I asked.
Well, yeah, so do we the easiest way would be to bring Shula up or have Munchak take over the offense because they're on the team already there. Those are two guys that can do it. Outside of that, if it's outside of offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, no idea who you are. So I don't know.
Where's our college fans here? Because I'm not one.
Yeah, where's Boggins? He's the one that knows everything.
Yeah, we needed somebody with glasses.
Yeah, I think you've got to think that if Shermer's gone, Munchak would probably push for it because Munchak obviously wants to stay in Denver. He's got family in Denver, and if it's going to be a situation where Munchak gets promoted to OC and then the Broncos are bad again and Fangio gets fired, there's Munchak right there. And I'm not saying I would want Munchak to be the head coach, but he's there if you need him. So I think that would be the easiest way to go. For me, I don't know. I'm hoping we don't have to worry about it.
That would be nice.
I mean, it especially in camp, we've seen a good number of play actions. We've seen a good number of screens. So I think that last year, I would say Shermer was more affected than anyone else. Just because he's not able to install everything he wanted to. He doesn't really know who's good at what and when. And, with the ways that guys were playing, it honestly, it looked a lot like Shermer was being backed into a play instead of picking the play that he wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not blaming everything on Shermer. It was a mix of everybody. But I think out of everybody on the team, Shermer was affected the most because of the offseason and COVID and all that.
Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to think about what the comparison you made about it, whether it's Andy Reid or Bieniemy. And
right?
I'd like to
obviously, if it's Belichick and Brady, obviously it's not Belichick because they suck, and Brady won a Super Bowl. So
isn't it great?
Is it Reid's system and Bieniemy's just really good in it? McDaniels is in Belichick's? Because we've seen what McDaniels can do as a head coach. No, thank you. So that's what I'm saying. Is it Bieniemy or is it Reid?
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck thinking about that, to be honest with you. And then I think back to the Super Bowl where the Chiefs were only put up points in field goals, but they weren't able to get a single touchdown to save their lives. And so, while Eric Bieniemy does seem to be that offensive coordinating genius, it's like how much of that is Andy Reid and how much of that is Eric Bieniemy, especially if you are able to bring a guy like Eric into a division rival in Denver and was like, okay, tell us how to beat Patrick Mahomes because we have no idea how to do it. And then also who our quarterback is next season if it's not Drew Lock. So it's all those.
How to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Injure both of their tackles and play lights out defense.
Just blitz them every play.
We don't even have to blitz.
Travis with we just need a QB, Justin Fields. Shake my head. I will say this. If you don't want to pick a quarterback just because you need one, if you don't believe that the quarterback is going to fit what you're trying to do, then I understand passing on him. Now, we have all heard and we all know that the number one choice for the Broncos was Trey Lance. Now, seeing what we've seen from Trey Lance out of training camp, I would much rather have had Trey Lance and a front office that believed in him than Justin Fields and a front office that didn't believe in him. We have no idea how either one is going to play in the season and as a career. But if I've got to pick between a quarterback that the front office believes in and a quarterback that they don't, I'm taking the one they believe in.
Well, I mean, they're both coming up from two very different routes. Trey Lance is more than likely not going to see the field until the Niners trade away Jimmy Garoppolo.
Ooh, I don't know about that one. With the way he's been playing in training camp, he might win it.
They're paying him a lot of money to bench him, and unless Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured where they have no choice, then there's that. Whereas Justin Fields will probably start week 1 if Andy Dalton plays like total crap, and Matt Nagy and Bill Lazor are like, okay, we've seen enough. Bring in Justin Fields. And
no, I have heard that Andy Dalton's been tearing it up at Bears camp.
I
don't really care, but I don't think Justin Fields sees the field as soon as Trey Lance does. I think Trey Lance sees it first. And honestly, send Garoppolo to the Texans. They'll take him. They'll take anybody. They don't have anybody right now.
Yeah,
just send him over there. The Colts might take him unless they trade for Nick Foles, which sounds like that might happen again. But that just sucks. Like, you're in like your third practice of training camp, and then you're out for 5 to 12 weeks. Like, that's a big gap. You'd think they'd be able to narrow that down a little bit.
Hey, I mean, surgery's tricky, man.
It's kind of like Johnny says, every Colt becomes a Bronco, so who cares? Not a Bronco yet. Yeah, there you go. Let's see here. Johnny, doubtful that Donatello sticks around without Fangio. They've been together forever.
I know. It's wishful thinking.
I would wish that even if Fangio left, that Donatello would stick around as defensive coordinator. But again, each head coach is going to want to pick their own coordinators, so I get it. EJ, if our offense can average 25 to 30 points a game, we can win games. We need to score points in this division to win. I don't even think we're going to need 25 to 30. I mean, with the defense we've got, we can score 21 and be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Just keep the turnovers limited, man. And the interceptions.
Yeah.
And the fumbles.
So if we're going for team built for right now or for the future, I don't, man. It's hard because you got to think that if the front office was under the belief that we have to win right now, they would have gone and made a bigger push for Stafford or Watson. Hello, knock on wood, or any of the other quarterbacks that we could have gotten. So you've got to think that they believe that we are set for the next few years with the roster that we have.
Right.
So I don't think we're in a win now mode. I want to win now. Can we please win now? That would work for me.
I think we are. I think we are in a win now mode.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're in a win now mode too, but I don't think we're in a win the Super Bowl right now kind of.
Not necessarily. If we
maybe not at the start.
Beat this horse.
We'll come back to that question after week 8.
Well, and I was gonna say, and again,
after week 3.
Yeah, like on paper, we have a great team, potentially. So I think you almost have to give like that first 4 to 6 games just to see, because even Cortland Sutton, this is what his 3rd year in the league, and we know he can be good. We just don't know how good.
Right.
So there's so many ways. There's so many ways that this can go.
Hey, George has a question for you, Dave.
I like that question.
Why Michael Parsons?
This one? Why Michael Parsons?
Long story short, I know it's a devalued position like running back, but I have been dreaming for the dynamic middle linebacker for years, and I watch them come and go and come and go and come and go. And we never get one. And some people say that's because the running back is not worth – the linebacker position is not valued. Same as running back. I mean –
you were focused in on Nick Kendall there for a minute.
Yeah, you're right.
Running backs don't matter.
Running backs don't matter. Inside linebackers don't matter. That's what they say. I don't choose to believe in it. I thought he's a ridiculous athlete. We get to watch him tonight if you want to. And maybe I might be wrong. We could have picked up at least, I don't know, a 2 or a 3 if we traded back a little bit. I'm not saying Parsons. I'm not saying that
Surtain.
Yeah.
Right? You get to the point where all the names just start flowing together.
I'm not saying that he's not going to be a great pick, and he could be the next Champ Bailey for all we know. I mean, he could be a Hall of Fame cornerback, and Peyton we trust. #.
Mm-hmm.
And he might be right, and that's why I'm not a general manager. But I wanted Parsons. I wanted him up through the draft. I didn't care about the stupid stuff that he did, and stuff. I didn't care what he did in college. I mean, people do. I did lots of stupid stuff in college. Not necessarily that stupid, but especially sports guys make dumb decisions. I mean, that you get together with a bunch of testosterone-fueled young guys and you do stupid stuff. So I think he's grown from it. I think he's a ridiculous athlete. I hope he succeeds. I hope Surtain succeeds. I hope Justin Fields succeeds. And we'll all see who was right or who was wrong.
I hope everyone succeeds. Except for the Raiders and the Chargers and the Chiefs. They're not allowed. They're not allowed.
No,
I mean,
sir.
I don't really have to worry about the Raiders and the Chargers. They just seem to implode on their own without us really doing anything. So, I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know if the Raiders even did anything this offseason to get any better. I don't think they did.
They picked up an offensive lineman. I think that was about
after getting rid of 4. So I don't even know if they did anything to get better.
I honestly don't know, but it doesn't look that way. And, it's looking like looks good for Raiders at the start, and then they just crumble at the end of the season type of season for Derek Carr.
EJ, I'm happy if we can make the playoffs.
I think we all would.
I think we can do that. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we're at that point. At least I don't know if we've proven yet that we can take the West from the Chiefs yet.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think we could get a wild card spot. But with the talent that's in the AFC, we're going to have better than 10-7 to get a playoff spot. We're going to have to be 11 or 12 wins at minimum to get in there, I think.
We could probably slide in through the wild card, that extra wild card berth that they implemented last season. So I think we can.
I don't know what that is.
That's
the name of the player. Alex Leatherwood.
Right. The offensive lineman, right? Leatherwood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the Oklahoma State guy still on the board, maybe? No, maybe not. I don't remember. But there were better.
There were a lot of offensive linemen still on the board when they took Leatherwood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, Mike Mayock dropped the ball.
Mike Mayock's prowess. Phew.
I get Richie. What are you talking about with the earmuffs? My youngest glassman is 16, almost 17 years old. I don't understand.
Yeah, Rich.
He's probably already a couple pints in.
I think he's drunk already. Let's see what we got here. Let's go back and grab some of these. EJ, we just need efficient QB play out of Locke and Teddy. Just avoid turnovers and don't put our defense in bad field position. And I think add into that, avoid turnovers and stay on the field as far as the offense goes. Don't just go 3 and out, 4 and out. Try to put a drive together just to give the defense some time to rest and relax a little bit. I think that was one. And our defense being number 1 in red zone last year was pretty impressive with how long they were on the field all season.
Right.
It was sad how long they were on that field.
Hey, that's pretty much the motto of this year. EJ was just don't fumble the ball, don't throw an interception, get the ball in the end zone, field goal if you have to, but don't always go for it, and don't turn over the ball in precious field position and give the opposing team a chance to not only take the lead but keep the lead.
Marcus Boggs, hello from the Grand Canyon. No. You're not on the podcast. You can't talk.
Oh, they have Wi-Fi at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, probably.
He's like, hello.
Oh yeah. So is there anyone else that we haven't mentioned? I mean, we've talked about Judy, we talked about Stearns, we talked about Sternad. Anybody in Trinity Benson? Anybody else that has impressed you in camp so far? And silence.
I'm thinking. I'm like, I feel that we've almost addressed every single person since the start of training camp.
Travis Tarby, hit me up, Twitter or Facebook. Message me. I'll answer.
In the DMs.
And slide into my DMs, good buddy. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, people love sliding into our DMs lately.
Because I don't know if there's. Calvin Anderson started to impress me, but it seems more and more like the starting lineup is pretty much going to be what it was last year, except Bobby Massey at right tackle with Anderson as the swing tackle backup. I don't think Mooty's going to take Glasgow yet. It depends on if Glasgow gets hurt during the season and Mooty plays himself into a starting spot. But I think for now, the roster is pretty much set where we think it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the line where it is. You've got Melvin Gordon with Williams and Boone. You've got the wide receivers set, at least as far as the top four go. I mean, you're looking at Patrick, you're looking at Sutton, not in order. Patrick, Sutton, Judy, and Hamler. And then probably Benson and Spencer would be my guess. Defensive line, we're pretty set. Linebackers, I don't know if the only question I have on linebackers would be Josie Jewell or Sternad. I think that's the only question I have right now. And then everything else I think is pretty much set.
Right.
So I think the only thing that's up in the air right now is quarterback. I think is the big one.
I agree. And I mean, not to go into the quarterback whole competition again, but hopefully, I'm just gonna say hopefully we get an answer sooner than later. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I want to say it's going to be after the second preseason game, but honestly, I think it's going to take until third preseason game before they figure it out.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's too even, and as much as I want Drew Lock to be to turn it around and be the future of the franchise, I don't want him to win it. Like, I don't want them to tie and them to just give it to him because he's the incumbent, because that doesn't really help anybody. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that during these preseason games, we see more of that growth and more of that flash that we want to see.
Right.
Johnny Baki Glasgow stays starter simply because of how much he's getting paid. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think Moody takes Glasgow's spot unless Glasgow gets hurt. So I don't think they take Glasgow out of there.
Yeah, I agree. Injuries will unfortunately be, and in that position anyway, not so bad because we know what we're expecting out of Moody. Any other position, we'll have to kind of worry.
Richie, with Hamler being injured-ish and Sutton coming off injury, what do we do wide receiver, and how many do we keep? Well, Richie, if you'd been here like 35 minutes ago. No. I think the only ones that we were saying definitely probably weren't going to make it is Tyree Cleveland. I think he's probably bottom. And then Seth Williams, I don't know if he makes the team or if they put him on practice squad. I want to say practice squad because I don't think that Williams has done more than Trinity Benson. So you got to think that Trinity Benson's going to take that spot too. So I'm thinking outside of Hamler, Judy, Sutton, and Patrick, you're keeping Benson and Spencer on the main roster. And then you put Williams and Cleveland probably on practice squad.
Yeah, Cleveland.
What'd you open?
That's the usual. Actually, it's not the usual, but
Everything rhymes with orange.
Ha ha, Johnny. He drinks it on this podcast too.
Johnny's probably doing backflips right now.
I tried to show it to him earlier. I don't know if he saw it.
Yeah, I think you have to have those two because Spencer's going to be your returner, plus Hamler might be as well, and then Benson's going to be that backup slot guy. So I think you almost have to keep 6.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think they're going to keep 5.
5 is a stretch.
Plus, if you're limiting it down to 5, like there's so many good wide receivers on the team.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to put them on practice squad, you're going to lose 1 or 2 of those good players that you're going to lose. So you got to think that they would, as of now, with how camp has been going, that they're going to put Cleveland and Williams on practice to keep Benson and Spencer.
Mm-hmm. Unless they know something that we don't know in terms of, Cortland Sutton's progress and KJ Hamler's hamstring injury, if it's a lot more serious than they're letting on. If they do keep more wide receivers than not, then that could be a bit of a sign. But I
think Spencer's gone. I think Spencer's gone too.
Really? I'm assuming that's with Hamler taking over returner duties.
I don't even care who it is. My thought process. Maybe, but my thought process is Peyton is not going to let a one-trick pony take up a roster spot. That's what I'm thinking.
I can agree with that.
I might be wrong. We'll find out in 4 weeks.
So why would they get rid of Spencer over Benson? Because Spencer's got the special teams and the receiving where Benson doesn't.
When does Spencer touch the field during an offensive play ever? I mean, I can't remember any times. I don't think he does. Want to remember. Because you don't. It never happened. That's why you don't remember.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. That's and I don't know that for a fact.
Johnny and Rich think they keep 7.
Ooh, that's way too many.
That's a lot.
I don't say 7.
That's like keeping 5 running backs. Like that's too many. I don't know. I mean, if you're thinking of it from like a last year nostalgic point of view, Tyree Cleveland should probably be on the team. But if you're looking at it from how he's played in training camp so far, based on how he's played, you can't pick Cleveland over Benson. You can't. I think Spencer's. I think Spencer's spot is more at risk than Benson's is.
Mm-hmm.
But
back to what have you done for me lately? It is a meritocracy, right? What have you done?
I kept hearing them talk about how good Spencer was at returning kicks, but I don't remember him being that good.
He's not that good. If we were basing this off nostalgia, Philip Lindsay would still be on this team.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I was excited when they signed DeMornay Pearsonell because he was that special teams. He was. I only know him because he went to school in Nebraska, so I know who he was. And he was their special teams ace. Like he was the guy for special teams. So if we're gonna base it off being a one-trick pony, like let's say Spencer, they're keeping around because of his returner prowess, I'd rather have Pearsonell in there for returner than Spencer because I've seen what Spencer can do. Mm-hmm. I've seen what Pearsonell can do. I think I'd rather have Pearsonell. But I don't know. I still don't think they keep 7. I think they go 6. What about Boone and Benson replacing Spencer? Nobody's talking about Boone or Benson being on special teams. We're talking about KJ Hamler has shown interest in being a returner.
Yeah, so long as he watches that.
Rise095 from Twitch. Hello.
I
don't know if he's wondering if we can see. We can see you. Hello.
What up, Twitch?
And honestly, if you're I think with Boone having the possibility of having to play more because Gordon ends up getting taken off the field because he fumbles too much. Mm-hmm. I don't think you put Boone or would you put Williams at special teams? I wouldn't. You don't want him to get hurt.
Seth Williams?
No. Pookie
Williams. Hell no.
That's what I'm saying. Would you want that caliber of a player on special teams? No. Do I want Boone on special teams? Not really, because he has the potential of being that second to Pookie. So I don't know if I want him on special teams. Benson, I can go with that, but if Hamler wants to do special teams, let him do it.
Terrell Davis cut his teeth on special teams, so let Boone play special teams. I got no problems with that.
Yeah, and
if he's the 3,
he had to earn it though.
But if he's the 3, let Boone play special teams. If you've got Pookie and you've got Melvin Gordon and they're both playing well, do something, contribute, right? Yep. Do something.
I agree.
Play special teams, run back kicks, go down and make tackles, contribute. That's what we need this whole team to do is contribute.
Get her done, sure. That's what needs to happen.
Hashtag contribute.
Hashtag contribute. I think that is gonna about do it for us. We are about 13 minutes over, but we do have some quick announcements before we get all of the outro stuff done. Announcement number 1.
Uno.
I have started an MHRT Fantasy Football League. If you want to be in it, and that is open to anyone, a contributor on MHRT, a fan on MHRT, a Broncos fan, I don't care. If you want to be in the MHRT League, just slide right on into my DMs and let me know. I will send you the stuff that you need in order to get into the league. It's not starting until like the week before football starts, so we have a little bit of time to get everything prepared, okay? I'm going to try to not make it 2 leagues with 16 teams in it because that's way too big. Too many people.
No bueno.
If your starting quarterback is Case Keenum from last year, then there's a problem. So there's not going to be that many people. Announcement number 2. We are going to be changing some things on MHRT for the beginning of the season. So we're going to have a new time slot for a podcast, and we're going to be adding a podcast. So stay tuned for all of that information. It's good. It's pretty exciting. I'm excited. We're all pretty excited. I don't know if some of them are excited because I haven't told them about it yet, but here you go. Now I told you. I think that's all I got. Is that all I got?
Yes, boss.
Yeah, that's all I got. So the Fantasy Football League, and then stay tuned within the next probably week, and then I'll start putting out the stuff that's going on for the next season. We're going to have some changes. We're going to have some people adding to MHRT, new podcasts. It's going to be fun. So, yeah, Dave, you look like you want to say something.
If you've never played fantasy football before, would that make me the whale?
It might.
Make you a noob.
But the question is it a whale or a camel? I think that's the question you got to figure out. No idea what I'm talking about. I just threw out an answer.
Mine was a poker reference. Never heard anyone call the camel in poker.
Well, you got never mind. Okay, so again,
off the air, you could explain it.
Yeah, I can't because I have no idea what I was saying. If you want to join the Fantasy Football League, just let me know. Twitter, Facebook. I think those are the ways to get a hold of me. Just let me know in there, and I'll get you the information you need. We do want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat today. It was fun. It was a little different, but I liked it. Good energy, so it works. And we do want to still remind you that we are on that quest for 1,000. The best way to support the channel. The best way to support that channel to reach that 1,000 subscribers is to make sure you slap that thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment, and share so that you can know when we go live. Anytime we post amazing content on our page, and so that other Broncos fans out there in Broncos country can know that we are awesome. Now make sure that you are tuning in at 6543 on Sundays for the Nothing Rocks the Orange and Blue podcast with Johnny and Isaiah. And then also on Tuesdays at 7654 for Broncos Talk with 6'10", Rich and Johnny. With that, we're going to head out. We love you all, and we want you to have a great weekend and a great first day of football today. I don't care who's playing. It's football. But we're going to do a very quick and amazing mile high five because you can't leave without doing a mile high five. So get those arms out and reach it to the sky when I say mile high five.
Wait, I wasn't ready.
You failed. Nope. You failed. It doesn't work.
Oh, Johnny, man, I wasn't ready.
Get on him. Get on him, Johnny.
I was waiting for the second mile high five.
Nope, I said it. I yelled it. It counts. All right, guys, we're gonna head out. We'll see you in a little bit.
You got diss. That's a diss.
Yeah.